from everybody else is the same thing when I tell people I'm selling. They're like, man, how do you sell so much? How do you get all this business? There's no shortcut. I started around 14, 15 years old because I was a knucklehead in the construction world. When I had my first child, I couldn't get a job outside of construction. I had no high school diploma. My mom was on drugs. My dad wasn't around. I didn't choose the right path. So construction was it. I could smoke weed and drink beer on job sites, and no one looked down on me. And that's just the God's honest truth. But I started at the broom. I started at the grinder. I started at the jackhammer. I've laid the tile. I've hung the doors. I've done it all. And because I understand the full process of the build, and I did construction defects for multiple years too, so I fixed other people's work, other contractors' work. So I got an understanding of engineering and why things don't work or why they might look good, but they're not functional. They looked awesome, but 6 years later, now they're leaking or now they're doing this. But that's my sales pitch. My sales pitch is, this is what we can do from your house, and this is how we can do it from your house. I posted something the other day. I says, I want a job from a very big competitor. He's on news all the time, not the news, but he's on all the TV stations. He's on all the commercials. He's a huge remodeler. Everybody knows his name. I was $19,000 more than this guy. I wanted this job. So I told the owner, I said, listen, the guy's like, look, dude, you're $19,000 higher. There's nothing you can do to change. I mean, 19 grand is 19 grand, which was 20% of the job. There's 2 bathrooms. And I said, listen, let me come there and just walk you through it. I understand 20 grand is 20 grand or 19 grand is 19 grand. So I walked him through it. When I'm done, I says, now I'm going to ask you a favor. Call the other guy and ask him to do the same thing. Don't tell him what I'm doing. Say, what are you doing? That was on a Wednesday. That Monday, they called me, said they're signing the contract and putting the check in the mail. Now, I knew what the other guy did. He showed up and they says, so what are you doing after you demo? Oh, well, the tile goes up. Well, what goes behind the tile? Well, the mud stuff that the tile sticks to. Well, what's the significance of that? I know what goes up. I know the proper waterproofing. I know if the pipes are a certain way that I need to change them. If there's green on the copper, do we need to check and change it to PEX? Why we need to change it to PEX? What the year is? How I'm going to slope? I'm going to pre-pitch my pan and not put my pan in and then put it. So that way, if the pan ever does leak, there's a pre-pitch to it so that it catches the water. There's things that I know because I was the installer that I can sell. The only reason I can sell it is because I put the time and the effort in educating myself to it. So that goes with anything in business. If you want to succeed, there's not a magic pill. There's not a Grant Cardone course you're going to take. Grant's been doing this thing for 40 plus years. That's why he's successful. You got to start somewhere. Same thing I talked about reaping and sowing. You got to start investing somewhere. You got to start giving somewhere. Time does the rest of it. But if you're trying to get a shortcut, you're going to get shorted, right? Because that's what shortcuts do. So, I mean, that's what separates us at Huffman's Construction than anybody else. Now, as I become more of a working on it and not in it, and one day I might not be the sales guy. I don't want to be the sales guy. But I'm processing and systemizing everything that I do word for word, how to confront the customer, what the questions are, things of that nature, so that the day that I'm working on it fully, my sales guys are an extension of myself. They understand my core values, responsiveness, excellence, attitude, and liability. They understand my mission statement. We're going to build our community one neighbor at a time. I'm going to sow that vision and those core values into them so that when I'm not there, they're still representing who I am. They're not going to sell a kitchen without knowing how the kitchen's going in. They're not going to sell those cabinets without knowing what the cabinets actually are. They're not going to sell a thin set without knowing what that thin set represents. And that's what separates us at Huffman's Construction, for sure.